The dirt bike zipped by once more, flinging dust into the air and sending nearby trees swaying. The rider rode through as if the land were hers for the taking. But what she didn't notice was the massive silhouette standing motionless near the edge of the property, quietly watching, waiting. When the time came, that land would push back. Ever watched someone mistake silence for weakness? You're about to. I'm Tom Radley. I'm 55 now, used to work as chief investigator with the National Land Oversight Commission. These days, I'm supposed to be enjoying retirement on my family's 40-acre spread tucked away in Ash Valley. That peace didn't last long. Why? Meet Hannah Blake. She's 42, a corporate lawyer and president of the local Neighborhood Unity Council, our fancy HOA. She set her sights on my farm, saw it as a barrier to her housing project dreams, and figured if she pushed hard enough, she could shove me out. Thing is, she didn't know who she was dealing with. She figured I was just a quiet farmer. What she didn't see, I'd spent decades enforcing the very kinds of land regulations she was trying to twist. Our first face-off? Early Monday morning. Sharp fall air and 3 weeks to go until wheat harvest. I was walking rows when I heard the roar of a bike. Hannah's cherry-red quad tore straight through my wheat, carving deep scars in soil that had been in my family for generations. She pulled up within shouting distance, parked like she owned the ground under her, and hopped off with a smug smile. "Morning, Mr. Radley," she said, tapping away on tablet. I was doing my regular compliance check and noticed some serious code issues here. I kept calm. No reason to match her energy. "This is private land," I told her. "Your authority ends at the subdivision gate. You can't run patrols through my crops." She looked at me like I was speaking gibberish. "Actually, this old farm road is public access," she said, "and any land that affects surrounding property values falls under the HOA's purview. That's basic governance." She was so self-assured, I almost doubted myself. "Almost. I'll need to see the proof," I said. She didn't respond, just started snapping pictures of my fencing, my barn, even a shot of Gus, my old bull, chewing grass peacefully by the fence. Fence height exceeds residential limits. Signage is non-compliant. Livestock could pose odor or noise hazards, she rattled off, more like an actor than a lawyer. Before I could reply, she was gone, kicking up another trail of dirt across thousands of dollars in wheat. That afternoon, I was at the county land office, digging through decades of records. Turns out, there was no easement, no shared access road, nothing. That trail was a worn cattle path that stayed well within our deeded land. Even more interesting, a buried environmental report from 20 years back explicitly stated that our farm was designated as an agricultural buffer between residential plots and the highway, protected from development. By the end of the week, 3 official-looking violation notices landed in my mailbox. First, my fence was too tall for a neighborhood. Problem is, this isn't a neighborhood. It's a farm built in 1923. Second, my private property signs were unwelcoming and allegedly affected community morale. Third, a complaint claiming air quality disruption from my cattle. Each letter came with formal language, fake deadlines, and veiled threats of legal action. But I'd seen this kind of thing before, weaponized bureaucracy. Make it look official, scare people into giving in. But I wasn't most people. The following week, Hannah sent out glossy invites to a community workshop. The flyer used words like unity, value, and shared vision. I ignored it, but not everyone did. Evelyn Brooks, a retired teacher from up the road, filled me in afterward. Hannah had run a slick presentation featuring drone shots of my land. She painted me as a problem, a selfish landowner dragging down everyone else's investment. She didn't outright say she had control over my land, but she leaned hard on phrases like community expectations and voluntary cooperation. By week 3, the pressure campaign turned psychological. She led neighborhood wellness walks right up to my fence line. Residents would stop, gawk, snap pictures, and whisper about how much nicer it would be to have tennis courts and bike trails where my wheat stood. Then came the inspectors. A county AG officer showed up, citing a complaint that I was running an unpermitted commercial cattle farm. I walked him through everything, documentation going back to the early 1900s. He apologized, said the complaint was suspiciously precise, full of technical jargon. Next, the health department. Water table contamination allegations. They ran a full environmental check. Found nothing, just like I told them. Week 4, I got served. Hannah had filed a lawsuit claiming my farm caused noise pollution, attracted predators, and damaged property values. She wanted $50,000 in damages and a court order to shut down my entire operation. But here's the kicker. Included in her legal documents was an independent environmental report, 43 pages long. Lab samples, graphs, aerial surveys, even heat maps of alleged odor dispersion, all purchased through a private firm. I could only imagine what it cost. Reading through it, I realized she wasn't just pressuring me. She was laying the groundwork to take my land. She'd already lined up a sale with my property bundled in. I dove into federal archives and found something explosive. The land Green Hollow Estates was built on had unresolved federal title claims. The HOA president knew this. Her signature appeared in multiple internal documents regarding title clarification procedures. 6 weeks earlier, she'd signed a $2.3 million sales contract with a developer, listing my land, my farm, as part of the expansion. She was trying to sell what she didn't own, not just to push me out, but to cash in big. And my property was the golden piece. It's been 4 years since Hannah Blake tried to bulldoze me and my land into her grand development scheme. Today, my weed is taller than it's been in decades. The soil is richer, and the fences still stand. Same height, same strength, same purpose. What changed isn't the land. It's the people. The residents of Ash Valley woke up. They realized they'd been manipulated by someone who wore authority like armor, but wielded it like a weapon. Once they knew the truth, they didn't just get angry. They got organized. The Neighborhood Unity Council was rebuilt from the ground up. Transparent elections, open budgets, real accountability. Hannah? She's serving 12 years in federal prison. Her developer partners? Prosecuted and bankrupt. Her scams? Public record. But that's not what I'm most proud of. What sticks with me is what happened after the dust settled. Evelyn now runs a local civic board that helps residents challenge unfair HOA practices across the county. Gus, my old bull, became something of a mascot. Local kids bring him apples and pose for pictures by the barn. And the Mitchell farm? It's now a landmark on the county's heritage trail. People come from neighboring towns to ask how we stood up to it, how we didn't fold. The answer's simple. I remembered who I was and found out I wasn't alone. Neighbors who once ignored each other started talking, watching out, sharing stories. Turns out, when communities stop being afraid, they become unstoppable. If you take anything from this story, let it be this. Silence isn't surrender. And power, real power, doesn't come from titles or legal threats. It comes from truth, from people willing to say, no, you can't take what isn't yours. They tried to erase a farm for profit. Instead, they built a movement. The new sign at the edge of my field says it all. Radley Family Farm, established 1923, protected by law and community. And beneath it, carved in iron, still standing,